Cybersecurity and Quantum Computing Threat Keynote Address. Good afternoon, everyone. Respected Principal Sir, distinguished guests, esteemed faculty members, researchers, and my young friends, the future engineers, innovators, and entrepreneurs of India. It is a privilege and honor to be present among you today. Before I begin, I need a small favor from all of you. Yes, all of you. Please turn to the person sitting on your left, shake hands, and say, "You are my friend." Now turn to the person sitting on your right, shake hands, and say, "We are winners together." Wonderful. Now let me ask you a question. How many of you want to become successful in life? Raise your hands. Excellent. Now let me ask another question. How many of you think success is a solo journey? Very few hands. Good. Because in the age of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and global networks, nobody wins alone. Technology itself teaches us this lesson. A computer network succeeds because systems communicate. The internet succeeds because devices collaborate. Cybersecurity succeeds because information is shared. Humanity succeeds because knowledge is shared. So today's session is not a lecture. It is a journey. A journey from today's cyber threats to tomorrow's quantum revolution. And perhaps a journey into some very fundamental questions about reality itself. Now, before we discuss quantum computing, let me ask another question. How many of you have received a fake SMS, a fake OTP request, a suspicious WhatsApp link, a fraudulent phone call? Almost everyone. Exactly. Cybersecurity is no longer an IT department problem. It is now a life problem. 20 years ago, criminals robbed banks. Today, they may not need to enter a bank at all. They enter your smartphone, your email, your social media account, your digital identity. And the most dangerous weapon is no longer a gun, it is information. We are living in a world where data has become the new oil. And wherever there is wealth, there will always be criminals. The battlefield has changed. The war has not. Today, cyber criminals steal money, identity, passwords, business secrets, government secrets, military secrets, and sometimes they steal something even more dangerous: trust. The modern world runs on trust. When you use UPI, trust is involved. When you use internet banking, trust is involved. When you use cloud computing, trust is involved. When you submit your Aadhaar information, trust is involved. Break that trust and the entire digital ecosystem starts shaking. And this is exactly why cybersecurity has become one of the most important disciplines of the 21st century. Now let us understand where we stand today before discussing where we are going tomorrow. Part 2. How computers think, why cybersecurity exists, and why quantum changes everything. Ladies and gentlemen, before we discuss quantum computing, let us first understand something much more basic. How does a computer actually think? Many people believe computers are intelligent. Actually, computers are incredibly fast. There is a difference. Computers do not understand. Computers process. Computers do not think like humans. Computers calculate. At the heart of every computer lies something very simple: a binary decision. Yes or no, on or off, true or false, 1 or 0. These are called bits. Every photograph, every video, every Instagram post, every bank transaction, every YouTube video, every artificial intelligence model ultimately reduces to billions and trillions of combinations of ones and zeros. Imagine a room with only one switch. Switch on, switch off. Only two possibilities. Now imagine 10 switches. You suddenly create 1024 possible combinations. Now imagine billions of switches. That is essentially what modern computers do. Astonishing complexity emerging from a very simple foundation: 1 and 0. Now here comes an important question. If everything is digital, how do we keep it secure? Because the moment information becomes valuable, somebody wants to steal it. This is where encryption enters. Encryption is one of the greatest inventions of human civilization. Suppose I want to send a secret message to my friend. If I write, "I love India," everyone can read it. So I convert it into a coded language. Only the intended recipient can decode it. This idea is thousands of years old. Kings used it. Military commanders used it. Spies used it. Today, the internet uses it. Whenever you use internet banking, UPI, Google Pay, credit cards, email, online shopping, cloud storage, encryption is silently protecting you. Without encryption, modern digital civilization would collapse within days. Now let me simplify further. Imagine I give you a lock. I also give you a key. You lock the box. Only someone possessing the key can open it. That sounds simple, but modern cryptography does something much smarter. It uses mathematics. Very difficult mathematics. Some mathematical problems are extremely easy to create but extraordinarily difficult to solve. For example, suppose I ask you 17 times 19. You can calculate quickly, but suppose I give you a very large number containing hundreds of digits and ask, what two prime numbers created this? Now the problem becomes enormously difficult. This principle forms the backbone of many modern encryption systems. The security of the modern internet largely depends upon the assumption that certain mathematical problems are practically impossible to solve within a reasonable time. And for decades, this assumption has worked beautifully. Now let's discuss cyber threats. What are cyber criminals actually trying to do? Most attacks fall into a few categories. First, identity theft. Someone pretends to be you. Second, data theft. Someone steals information. Third, financial fraud. Someone steals money. Fourth, ransomware. Someone locks your data and demands payment. Fifth, espionage. Someone secretly monitors communications. This is no longer science fiction. Governments do it, corporations do it, criminal organizations do it, and sometimes even students attempt it. Although I trust all the students present here are completely innocent. Now let us think like an attacker. Suppose I want to crack your password. One method is called a brute force attack. I simply keep trying possibilities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. If your password is weak, eventually I succeed. This is why cybersecurity experts keep telling us, use strong passwords, use multi-factor authentication, do not share OTPs, do not click unknown links, do not trust every QR code, do not trust every email. In cybersecurity, there is a famous saying, humans are often the weakest link. The technology may be secure, the server may be secure, the network may be secure, but if someone convinces you to reveal your password, all that security becomes useless. Technology protects systems, awareness protects people, and we need both. Now let us move towards the future. Everything I have explained so far depends on a fundamental assumption that solving certain mathematical problems takes a very long time. Years, centuries, sometimes longer than the age of the universe. Current computers are simply not powerful enough. And because they are not powerful enough, our encryption remains safe. But what happens if a completely different kind of computer appears? A computer that doesn't think in the way today's computers think. A computer that doesn't follow the same limitations. A computer that can evaluate countless possibilities simultaneously. A computer that makes today's supercomputers look like calculators. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where quantum computing enters the story. And this is where cybersecurity professionals around the world are becoming both excited and nervous at the same time. Because quantum computing promises extraordinary breakthroughs, but it also threatens many of the security systems upon which modern civilization depends. The same technology that may cure diseases, accelerate scientific discovery, optimize transportation, and revolutionize artificial intelligence may also challenge the very foundations of digital security. And that is why understanding quantum computing is no longer optional. It is becoming essential. But before we dive into the science, allow me to ask one final question. Have you ever considered that reality itself may not behave the way our common sense expects? Because the moment we enter the quantum world, common sense resigns and wonder takes over. Ladies and gentlemen, now we enter the most fascinating part of today's discussion. Up to now, everything was comfortable. Computers, passwords, encryption, cyber attacks, all understandable. But from this point onward, things become strange, very strange. In fact, if quantum mechanics makes complete sense to you after the first explanation, then chances are you have not understood it yet. Even the great physicist Richard Feynman once remarked, "If you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics." And I assure you, the engineers sitting here today are intelligent enough to appreciate that statement. Because quantum physics is not difficult because of mathematics. It is difficult because it challenges our intuition, the problem with human perception. Let me ask you a question. How many colors do you think exist? Most people would say millions. But scientifically, the visible colors we see are only a tiny portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Our eyes can detect only a narrow band. Beyond that, infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays, radio waves, microwaves all exist around us, yet we cannot see them. Now ask yourself, if we cannot perceive most of reality, can we confidently claim that what we see is the complete reality? Our ancient sages asked similar questions. The Rig Veda states, "Ekam sad vipra bahuda vadanti." Truth is one. The wise describe it in many ways. What a profound statement. Not merely religious, not merely philosophical, epistemological, a statement about perception itself. Each observer perceives reality differently. Each observer accesses only a part of the whole. The fly with 600 eyes. Consider a common fly. A fly possesses thousands of tiny visual receptors. Imagine for a moment, how does a fly see you? Exactly as you see yourself? Probably not. Perhaps it sees a mosaic. Perhaps it sees motion differently. Perhaps it sees patterns invisible to us. Perhaps it perceives dimensions of movement we completely miss. We don't know. Similarly, a dog experiences reality differently. A bat experiences reality differently. A dolphin experiences reality differently. Human beings experience reality differently. Who among us can claim that our version is the final version? Maybe reality is not as solid as we think. Maybe what we call reality is merely the interface our senses allow us to experience. This becomes important because quantum physics arrives at a surprisingly similar conclusion. The observer changes the outcome. One of the strangest discoveries in quantum mechanics is that observation matters. The act of measurement itself influences what is observed. Think about that. In our everyday world, a cricket ball exists whether I look at it or not. A chair exists whether I observe it or not. A classroom exists whether I observe it or not. But in the quantum world, things are not so straightforward. Particles behave differently when measured. Reality seems to choose a state when observed. This has generated decades of debate among physicists. And before anyone gets excited, no, quantum physics does not prove every spiritual belief, but it certainly forces us to ask deeper questions about reality. Classical bit versus quantum bit. Now let us come to quantum computing itself. Remember the binary bit? A classical bit can be 0 or 1. Nothing else. A switch is either off or on, correct? Now imagine a magical switch. Not off, not on, but somehow both at the same time. Welcome to the quantum world. This magical unit is called a qubit, a quantum bit. Unlike classical bits, qubits can exist in multiple states simultaneously. This property is called superposition, and this is where quantum computing gains its extraordinary power. Understanding superposition. Imagine a coin. When placed on a table, head or tail, two possibilities. But while spinning rapidly in the air, can you say it is head? Can you say it is tail? Not exactly. Actually, it contains both possibilities. Only when it lands do we see the outcome. A qubit behaves somewhat similarly. Until measured, it can represent multiple possibilities simultaneously. This is not science fiction. This is experimentally verified science, and it changes everything. Why this matters? Suppose I give a normal computer a maze. The computer checks one path, then another, then another, then another, sequentially. Now imagine a quantum computer. It can explore vast numbers of possibilities simultaneously. Not perfectly, not magically, but in ways fundamentally different from classical machines. That is why some problems which might require thousands of years for conventional computers could potentially be solved dramatically faster. Entanglement, the spooky phenomenon. Now let us encounter something even stranger, a concept so bizarre that even Albert Einstein disliked it. It is called quantum entanglement. Suppose two particles become entangled. Their states become interconnected. Not metaphorically, physically, mathematically, fundamentally. Measure one, the other instantly reflects the relationship, no matter how far apart. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. And today, it is experimentally verified. Reality is stranger than science fiction. Why engineers should care? Many students ask, why do engineers care about quantum mechanics? Many students ask, interesting physics, sir, but what does it have to do with engineering? Everything. Because every major technological revolution began as abstract science. Electricity, semiconductors, lasers, GPS, internet, artificial intelligence, all began as curiosity. Today, quantum computing appears theoretical. Tomorrow, it may redefine industries. The companies investing billions today understand this. Those who wait may become followers. Those who learn now may become pioneers. Time, reality, and ancient stories. Let me share a fascinating story from our tradition. Many of you know the story of King Kakudmi and his daughter Revati. According to the narrative, they traveled to Brahmalok. They spent what appeared to them as a short duration there. When they returned to earth, many generations had already passed. Their entire era had disappeared. Now please understand, I am not presenting this as a physics equation. I am presenting it as a remarkable thought experiment. Thousands of years ago, human minds were already contemplating different experiences of time, different frames of reality, different scales of existence. Today, modern physics discusses time dilation, relativity, observer-dependent measurements. Again, not identical concepts, but fascinating parallels. The important point is this: human curiosity is ancient. Science and spirituality are often asking similar questions through different languages. Consciousness and the universe. Now let me say something carefully. Quantum computing is not spirituality. Physics is physics. Engineering is engineering. Mathematics is mathematics. However, quantum discoveries invite humility. The more we learn about reality, the more we realize how much remains unknown. And that humility is the true meeting point of science and spirituality. Science says, I do not know yet. Spirituality says, there is more to discover. Both begin with wonder. Transition to cybersecurity. Threat. Now comes the critical question. If quantum computers become powerful enough, what happens to today's encryption? What happens to your banking? What happens to military communications? What happens to government secrets? What happens to cryptocurrency? What happens to digital identity? What happens to privacy itself? Ladies and gentlemen, this is where excitement ends and concern begins, because the same technology that may transform medicine and science may also challenge the foundations of global cybersecurity. And that is exactly where we shall go next. Ladies and gentlemen, now we arrive at the most important part of today's discussion. Everything we have discussed so far, the qubit, superposition, entanglement, observer effect, the mysteries of reality, all of that is fascinating. But now comes the practical question. What happens when this power is used against today's cybersecurity systems? Because history teaches us something very important. Every powerful technology has always been both a blessing and a threat. Fire can cook food. Fire can burn cities. Nuclear science can power nations. Nuclear science can destroy nations. Artificial intelligence can revolutionize healthcare. Artificial intelligence can generate sophisticated cyber attacks. Similarly, quantum computing can become humanity's greatest technological accelerator or its biggest cybersecurity challenge. Why today's encryption works? Let us understand something very simple. Imagine I give you the following multiplication. 17 times 19. You can calculate it in seconds, correct? Now let me give you the answer. 323. And ask you, what were the two prime numbers multiplied together? Still manageable. But suppose the number contains 300 digits or 600 digits or 1000 digits. Suddenly it becomes extraordinarily difficult. This is the principle behind much of modern encryption. Systems such as RSA rely on mathematical problems that are easy to perform but extremely difficult to reverse. This difficulty creates security, and security creates trust. What is protected by encryption? Think carefully. Encryption protects online banking, UPI transactions, government communications, defense networks, corporate secrets, medical records, Aadhaar-linked systems, digital signatures, e-commerce, cloud infrastructure. In short, modern civilization runs on encryption. Most people think roads, bridges, and power plants are critical infrastructure. True, but today encryption is also critical infrastructure. Without encryption, digital society collapses. Enter quantum computing. Now imagine a machine capable of solving certain mathematical problems exponentially faster than conventional computers. That is exactly why the cybersecurity community is both excited and nervous. In 1994, mathematician Peter Shor introduced something revolutionary, Shor's algorithm. This algorithm demonstrated that a sufficiently powerful quantum computer could factor large numbers dramatically faster than classical computers. Remember the lock? Remember the prime numbers? Remember the security foundation? Shor's algorithm directly attacks that foundation. And suddenly the entire cybersecurity world sat up and paid attention. The day RSA breaks. Now let us imagine a hypothetical future. Suppose tomorrow morning someone announces, we have built a fault-tolerant quantum computer capable of breaking RSA encryption. What happens? Banks panic, governments panic, military establishments panic, technology companies panic, stock markets panic. Why? Because a large percentage of today's secure communications would become vulnerable. The lock protecting the digital world would suddenly become weak, not because the mathematics was wrong, but because a new machine appeared. The threat has already started. Many people believe quantum computers are not yet powerful enough, so why worry? Wrong. The threat has already begun. Cybersecurity experts call it harvest now, decrypt later. Imagine a hostile actor intercepts encrypted data today. They cannot read it now, so they simply store it. Years later, when powerful quantum computers become available, they decrypt the stored data. Think about that. Military communications, research data, strategic plans, scientific discoveries, intellectual property, sensitive personal records. Data stolen today may become readable tomorrow. The future attack has already started. Only the decryption is delayed. India's challenge. Now let us talk about India. India is one of the world's fastest growing digital economies. UPI transactions, digital governance, digital identity systems, fintech innovation, massive cloud adoption, AI integration, smart infrastructure. This makes India a digital powerhouse, but it also makes India a target. Therefore, cybersecurity is no longer merely an IT department issue. It is a national security issue, an economic issue, a strategic issue, and a societal issue. The good news: quantum can also protect us. Now, before everyone becomes worried, let me share the good news. Quantum computing is not only a threat, it is also part of the solution. Scientists are already developing post-quantum cryptography. These are new encryption systems designed to resist attacks from both classical and quantum computers. Governments worldwide are already preparing. Organizations are already migrating. Cybersecurity experts are already testing. The race has begun. Not between nations, not between companies, but between vulnerability and preparedness. A lesson from the Mahabharata. Allow me to bring a small reflection from our civilizational wisdom. In the Mahabharata, the most dangerous warriors were not always those with the strongest weapons. The decisive advantage often belonged to those who understood the changing battlefield. Technology changes, weapons change, strategies change, the battlefield changes, but preparedness remains timeless. Today, cybersecurity is our Kurukshetra. The battlefield is digital. The warriors are engineers, researchers, scientists, policymakers, and cyber professionals. The weapons are algorithms. The armor is encryption. And the responsibility is ours. Opportunities for students. Now let me speak directly to the students. Some of you may become software engineers, data scientists, AI researchers, cloud architects, security analysts, ethical hackers, quantum researchers, entrepreneurs. You are entering one of the most exciting periods in technological history. The internet transformed the world. Artificial intelligence is transforming the world. Quantum computing may transform it again. Many jobs of the future do not even exist yet. Many companies of the future have not yet been founded. Many discoveries of the future are waiting inside classrooms like this one. Perhaps among the students sitting here today is a future quantum scientist, a future cybersecurity leader, a future startup founder, a future innovator who solves a problem nobody has solved before. The three qualities you must develop. Technology alone will not be enough. Develop three things. First, curiosity. Never stop asking questions. Every breakthrough began with a question. Second, courage. Innovation requires the courage to challenge assumptions. Every major discovery was once considered impossible. Third, character. Technology without ethics is dangerous. Knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. Power without responsibility is dangerous. The future will not merely need brilliant engineers, it will need trustworthy engineers. Returning to the opening exercise. Friends, at the beginning of this session, I asked you to shake hands with the person beside you. Do you remember? And say, I am a winner. Now, after 1 hour of discussion, I would like to slightly modify that statement. Please look at your friend once again and say, we are winners. Because the future cannot be built alone. Research is collaborative. Innovation is collaborative. Cybersecurity is collaborative. Nation building is collaborative. Human progress is collaborative. If you want to go fast, you can go alone. If you want to go far, you must go together. Final reflection. Before I conclude, let me return to the beautiful Vedic statement we discussed earlier. Ekam sad vipra bahudha vadanti. Truth is one. The wise perceive it in many ways. Today scientists explore it through equations. Engineers explore it through technology. Philosophers explore it through contemplation. Spiritual seekers explore it through consciousness. Different paths, same curiosity, same wonder, same quest. The more we learn, the more we realize how much remains unknown. And perhaps that humility is the beginning of wisdom. Grand conclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, the story of humanity is the story of curiosity. We looked at birds and dreamed of flight. We looked at stars and dreamed of space. We looked at intelligence and created computers. Now we look at the quantum world and dream of possibilities beyond imagination. The future belongs neither to those who fear technology nor to those who worship technology. The future belongs to those who understand technology, guide technology, and use technology responsibly. May you become not merely users of technology, not merely consumers of technology, but creators of technology. May you build systems that are secure, innovations that are ethical, and a future that benefits humanity. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your curiosity. And most importantly, thank you for believing that the future can be better than the present. Jai Hind. Hind. Thank you. Suggested closing interaction. Before I leave, raise your hand if today's session has made you curious about quantum computing. Wonderful. Then my mission is accomplished. Because every great journey starts not with an answer but with curiosity.